On March 7th, Universus will be revisiting the world of Exandria, this time with a full booster set featuring 20 of our favorite heroes. From Vox Machina, we've already seen heroes revealed like Little Elf Boy, Little Elf Girl, Four Eyes, Jumbo, Short Stuff, and Antlers, but there's one member of the team that we haven't seen yet. And here it is, the final reveal. Perhaps the most daring member of the party, but certainly the most dashing, we have Taryon Darrington, a human artificer who is desperate to repair the relationship with his father and get back in the good graces of his family. So he goes out adventuring to prove himself and joins with our heroes in Vox Machina. He's often accompanied by Doty, his robot manservant, who also acts as his scribe. He creates various Doties over the course of the campaign, Doty 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, etc., finishing off with Doty X. One of his most common lines in the show is, "Doty, take this down," and then he'll relate something that just happened, and Doty can write it so that he can publish his books and impress his family. So some of his books that he's published, and these are my favorite titles: Taryon with Taryon Darrington, Bravado, a T. Darrington story, The Terrific and Terrifying Tales of Taryon Darrington, Dungeons and Darringtons, Tarion's Daring Do's and Daring Do Nots. But now for maybe his most lasting achievement, Taryon Darrington comes to us in the Universus collectible card game, 6 hand size, 31 health, Inventor, Vox Machina, on the air, life, and order symbols. He gets 2 abilities. Top one, Enhance, once per turn. Remove X momentum, build 1 asset from your discard pile with difficulty equal to or less than X plus 1, X may equal 0. So Taryon can always, for free, build 1 difficulty assets on his turn and his opponent's turn. But for the cost of a single momentum, he could build in a powerful 2 difficulty asset. Or for 2 momentum, he could build in an extremely powerful 3 difficulty asset like Cape of No Return. And then he gets this bottom enhanced where he can further use these assets, commit an asset. This attack gets plus X or minus X speed. X equals the printed difficulty of the asset committed to pay for this ability. So if it's a 3 difficulty asset, we can commit it for plus or minus 3 speed. So while we want to be free building in these cheap assets, we also want to be hard building in these higher difficulty assets for greater speed control. So Taryon, as the game gets on, gets more and more powerful. His speed control gets better and better, and his stage is getting bigger and bigger as he's free building these assets in on offense and on defense. It fits his character really, really well from the show, where he is building things and tinkering with things and getting stronger as the game progresses. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the available assets that Taryon gets, because the competitive strength of this character really is going to depend on the assets, the asset pool that he has available to him. So when we think about Taryon, the 0 to 1 difficulty assets are really easy to build, but the 3+ difficulty assets are going to be the best for speed control. So we need assets that span this entire spectrum of difficulties, right? We don't just want high difficulty assets, and we don't just want cheap assets. And then the higher difficulty we get, we want those assets to be more permanent. And we would prefer those abilities to be used without having to commit the asset or sacrifice or remove the asset, right? Because 3+ difficulty, we want this to always be around for speed control. So an asset like Young Heroes would be perfect. We're not having to commit Young Heroes to pay the ability, so we can play the ability on Young Heroes and then commit it for +4 or -4 speed. Now, the 1 difficulty assets, we don't care if we blow them up. We can always build them back in for free. So in a 60 card deck, how much of each type of asset are you going to be wanting to run? I think in the 0 to 1 difficulty column, probably 4 to 6 of these assets. Now, here's 4 assets currently in the standard format that would be available to all Taryon decks underneath any symbol, because these are infinity symbols, or like Potato, it's life attuned. So on these Potatoes, the one that most interests me, we can just free build it in and then protect our attack from an ability like a Referee Jury, for example. Now, if we go to the life and order symbol, you get Gold Tips Imperial, which really works well with Taryon, because Gold Tips Imperial is going to help you get momentum no matter what on your turn, and then you can use that momentum to build more powerful assets. Now, Cute Baby, number 202, this can destroy itself, and then we can easily rebuild it back in for no momentum. So 4 to 6 of those, we want it to be consistent enough to where on the early turns we're getting to build assets. But as the game goes on, we would prefer to have more powerful assets. 2 difficulty, I think like 3 to 5, a little bit fewer than the 0 to 1 difficulty, but we'd still like some that in the mid game, we can be building these in for just a single momentum. So Idun box on the life and order symbol to take something back to its printed values, vertical maneuvering equipment for that plus or minus 3 speed on momentum, and then we can commit VME for plus or minus 2 speed. Tattered costume is one that we get to kind of loop at the price of a single momentum. Sacrifice, cancel an action or a keyword, and draw a card, and then we can just keep looping it back. Very, very powerful defense. Also very powerful to protect our huge moves on offense. So 3 to 5 of those. And then 3+ difficulty, I think we again want 4 to 6. I think we kind of want this barbell approach to assets, right? We want lots of expensive ones and we want lots of cheap ones, and then just a couple in the middle to pick and choose from. These ones are cards that we're going to be hard building in. We're going to try and cheat them in somehow. Badgie is a great one to cheat in because it says response after you play this card, build it. So if you block with it, you just immediately build it, and then you can give their next attack minus 3 speed. Or if you play it on your turn, you can immediately use it to give 3 speed. It also gets this enhance that can give something plus 3 damage. Only on your turn, but you or your rival can press that button. But you can press the button and then commit it for speed. So every Badgie is like plus 3. That's pretty dang solid. Ceratos is the really spicy one here because we don't have to commit it to use that form. So we use Ceratos, we use the form, and then we can commit it for plus 6 speed or minus 6 speed. That's like a total speed reset. Young Heroes, both parts of the abilities, the defense one and the offensive one, don't require it to be committed. And then plus 4 or minus 4 speed. I think there's going to be a lot more powerful assets on the way. I could see a lot of different Dodis being revealed, like a Dodi 1.0, Dodi 2.0, Dodi 3.0, Dodi X, and then maybe the difficulty of Dodi X is adjusted like based on how many foundations you have. So it gets easier to build the longer you are into the game, but you can always commit it for lots of minus or plus speed. We see that Taryon shares 2 symbols with Pumat, also an inventor, error and order, and Pumat is building in assets from his hand. So I could definitely see some assets being error or order attuned so that both Taryon and Pumat can have access to these assets. But that's kind of where I am on the theory of how to build Taryon with his assets. Let's talk about some tactics that Taryon wants to use. Number 1, we'd like to cheat in high difficulty assets. Hunter's Ally is a card that we just saw a couple days ago. It's going to be one of our promos for the regional in Denver and the UK regional. It has Blitz, build an ally card from your discard pile. Well, remember when we were looking at those high difficulty assets? Badgie and Young Heroes are allies. So Hunter's Ally can just free build in a Young Heroes, which then can have a selective commit, and then you can commit for 4 speed. Dramatic Slash, discard a momentum, build an asset from your discard pile. Hey, you can build in Ceratos. Build in one of these 4 or 5 diffs for a single momentum. Desperate Plea, we can like block with the Ceratos and then build in Ceratos. So we have some ways available to us where we don't just have to be hard building these high difficulty assets. We can get them in a little earlier in the game. Also, we'd like quick momentum. The more momentum we get, the more powerful assets we're able to build. Also, Taryon is a character we're not giving damage on face. So if we want to be using these attacks with powerful on them, then we need some momentum to start making them scary. So High Velocity Slice, Dual Needle Lunge are great snap momentum pieces. Fajin Flurry kind of works with Taryon because every time it gets 3 speed, you get to add the top card of your deck to your momentum. So commit Badgie, add 1 to momentum, EX3, add 1 to momentum. Then we can use that momentum, build in a 2 difficulty asset. We can also destroy assets for value. Beast Titan attacks is a really cool one here. Blitz, sacrifice an asset or backup. This attack gains throw. Beast Titan will just always get throw. Also, the transformed side of Beast Titan says you can go and pick up a ranged attack. Scrap Cannon is a ranged attack with powerful 3 that says you may remove assets from your stage as though you were spending momentum to pay the cost of this attack's powerful ability. Scrap Cannon seems to be the perfect kill condition for Taryon. We can commit a high difficulty asset, give this like 5, 6 speed, and then we just, hey, powerful 3, 8 times over. This is for your entire health total. We finish off with this massive Scrap Cannon. Okay, let's look at a deck that I put together using only current standard cards. So obviously there's going to be a ton of support coming out for Taryon in Critical Role, but just looking at the current standard pool of cards, what kind of deck could we create? And I went on the life symbol so that I could have access to Scrap Cannon, but 4X Beast Titan, and then this kind of ranged attack package over here to where we could then Beast Titan, grab a Spirit Gun Mega, grab a Scrap Cannon. So even though we didn't have any attacks maybe in hand to start our turn, because we had Beast Titan in our stage, we could then Spirit Gun Mega into Scrap Cannon. Scrap Cannon is the perfect follow-up for Spirit Gun Mega, which has powerful 4 on it and 6 base speed. So 6 base speed, add on the speed from Taryon. This is going to be like a 10 speed damage move. We could kind of dump our momentum into it, make it very, very scary. Our rival has to use their resources to block it, and then we come and we hit them over the top with the Scrap Cannon. High Velocity Slice and Dual Needle Lunge just to get our momentum going in the mid game. Spirit Gun Mega, if it hits, we get to draw 2. Thunder Spear Detonation, we can use this snap momentum to then pay for its powerful ability and draw a card. Readied Shot, we can be grabbing 1 difficulty cards to our hand to kind of get our build more consistent, because that's one of the hardest things with Taryon is that we want to be playing a lot of assets, but we can't use them to pass checks like Mimic. So we still need our foundations. So in this deck, I've got 68 cards in this list, only 18 attacks. That's like a sub 25% attack ratio, 17 assets, and then I've got 32 foundations. So I have a sub 50% foundation ratio. So this Readied Shot, I would love to use this to go and grab like a Desperate Plea, and then we can use Desperate Plea to build in whatever asset we're blocking with here. Then on the assets, I've got 6 1-diffs. I'm 4Xing Gold Tips Imperial to really help these powerful moves like Detonation, Spirit Gun Mega, and Scrap Cannon. I've got 4X Badgie. I think that's probably by far his best asset currently. A Young Heroes and a Ceratos. And then just some 1Xs on my 2-diffs, because I'm going to want to build in a different 2-diff depending on the board state of each individual game. So Idun Box, VME, Anti-Personnel, VME. It's all going to depend on the matchup and the current game state on which one I want to build in. And then my foundations, I'm pretty defensive here on my foundations because Taryon's a character that's probably going to want to survive until at least the mid game, to where he's getting more and more powerful as the game progresses. We do need to stay alive. Let me see. Any of these? Curiosity of Armin Alert is one that he can use really well. It's life attuned, but it also has this order enhance to where we can draw a card on defense. And then I threw in, you'll notice that a lot of these are like 1X or 2X, because I also threw in a Researching the Answer, because we are kind of hurting for card draw in this list. So 1X Researching the Answer. And then I threw in a Strategic Maneuver. Strategic Maneuver is basically 4-check Badgie. We play Strategic Maneuver, we add Badgie to our hand, we play Badgie, we build Badgie. I figure like 90% of the time that's what we're going to use Strategic Maneuver for. So there's some really cool lines in this deck that it has available to it. I think it could actually be very, very real. When I first saw Taryon, I thought, this seems like a fun locals character. But the more I'm looking at him and I'm analyzing the cards that he has available to him, the more I'm getting excited. Like, could this guy actually be real? Is he actually very, very good? Could he be cracked? We've seen a lot of asset-based characters actually just be cracked in the end. But free building from your discard pile is a very, very powerful ability. How quickly could he amass a stage to where all of your attacks are getting -3 speed when you try and attack into him? Or all of his attacks are getting 3 speed and he just is building a much wider stage than you very, very early on. So that'll be interesting to see, but I've got some additional reveals for you. My character, Taryon, ended up getting spoiled a little early, actually. The Gamer dropped an article yesterday looking at all their alt arts. I actually should have put the alt art in this, but go check out the Gamer article to see the alt art for Taryon Darrington. So to make it up to me, the good folks at UVS Games hooked me up with 3 more reveals, and these are all from Taryon's support in the Critical Role booster set. Starting off, we have a 4 difficulty asset, Dodie the Automation, unique ally tech. Once again, ally, you can build this in off Hunter's Ally. It has the infinity symbol. If your character is Taryon Darrington, this card gets -2 difficulty. So the speed control of Taryon looks at the printed difficulty, which is 4. So this is +4 or -4 speed. But the momentum side of Taryon is looking at the actual difficulty, not the printed difficulty, meaning that Taryon can build in this asset for the price of a single momentum from his discard pile. Then it gets enhanced commit, ready 1 other asset. So Dodie the Automation is like an extra copy of the most powerful other asset in your stage. Also, enhanced tenacious, remove if this attack's damage is greater than your current health, return it to its printed damage. It's just a hard damage reset for whatever is going to kill you. Remember, Taryon needs some pretty powerful defense. Whenever we can't block anymore, we've tapped out all of our assets. All of our speed control has been used up. We can use that bottom enhance to stay alive and just buy ourselves that extra turn that we need to win the game. Also, I really love the art here. Dodie in this is giving me like Wild Robot vibes. He's got like this bird on top of his head. It's like, is that Bright Bill? Is this Bright Bill and Roz? And with the nature here, just very, very... I took my kids the other day to see Wild Robot. I did not expect to cry that much during a kid's movie. I loved it. So very, very cute art here with Dodie being a good scribe in this beautiful island. Kind of surprised that it's the infinity symbol and not air or order attuned. I'm wondering if this is going to be the only Dodie asset available to Taryon. Maybe there will be like a Dodie backup card, but I still think that we're going to see Dodie 1.0, 2.0. Just my theories. But now for a foundation that is absolutely cracked. Science Bros. We've got Taryon here in the art with his good friend Percy. And then I think we've got Vexalia back here, who Taryon gets to be really good friends with. I think Vex and Percy actually get married. And then Taryon's like the best man, I think, for one of them. And then you can see like Dodie in the background. So these are 2 like inventor type characters in Critical Role. Science Bros. Response: after you remove 1 or more cards, your attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage. Notice that does not say once per enhanced step. So both Percy and Taryon have remove costs on their characters. And they both share the air symbol. So any Percy or Taryon deck can use this card. And then when they use that ability that removes something, like Taryon's removing his momentum, your attack is +1/+1. That's quite good right there. But now think about it in characters like Rodan, who can remove something on every single attack. In Rodan, this is just +1/+1 on all of your attacks. But now think of it, if your character is on a firepower, a combined firepower symbol, if combined firepower stays legal. Now, it could get banned here before Critical Role releases, but if it stays legal, think about this in like a character that has Death in Air and is a casino list, like Mirko 2, Marco, or Percy, for example. I think we're going to see Firepower Percy if something's not done about Firepower. But you play your Firepower and then you hit your remove costs as you mill, and then every single time you remove something, you're giving it +1/+1. This could be like +5/+5 over the course of a couple Firepowers. It's nuts. And then we get this also powerful response, commit. After you remove 1 or more cards to pay a cost, draw 1 card. So very powerful offense. And then whenever we're ready, hey, let's just draw a card. Commit to draw. Very, very nice. All right. And now for Taryon's ultra rare attack, we get Pristine Swords Play, 4 difficulty, 4 mid, 4, ally tech weapon, Blitz, ready 1 asset that hasn't been readied this combat phase. So if we use like Ceratos for 6 speed on our first attack, we followed up with Swords Play. Let's ready up Ceratos. We can use it again for 6 speed on this one. Enhance, sacrifice an asset. So another asset destruction outlet beyond Beast Titan and beyond Scrap Cannon. This attack gets X damage. X equals the printed difficulty of the sacrificed asset. So let's just use Ceratos again. We get to ready up Ceratos, then we get to commit Ceratos for 6 speed, then we get to enhance and sacrifice Ceratos for 6 damage, making Swordsplay a 10 speed, 10 damage move. Very, very powerful for just being 4 difficulty. This is probably going to make it in any Taryon deck list. And there you have it. Those are the 3 Taryon support cards that I have available at this moment. Pristine Swordsplay, Science Bros, and Dodie the Automation. I love all of these cards. All of these cards seem very powerful. I can see Dodie finding play in like Mimic decks, finding play in a lot of other decks that just for that reset ability. Right? Hey, you thought Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken committed my cape. I'll commit Dodie and re-ready my cape. And now I can still remove an attack over the course of your turn. Science Bros, just with those Death Casino decks or any Rodan deck, any Percy deck. Taryon even probably runs maybe one of this. Taryon probably cares more about the response to draw card, honestly. But the other characters are going to be using the top response and just absolutely abusing that response. Pristine Swordsplay. I love the art here. We got Taryon in battle with this massive sword. He's got this very shiny armor that always looks like he doesn't really use it. He seems kind of all talk, like no walk. But that's what makes his character so great, is how boastful and over the top he is. But yeah, March 7th, Critical Role, coming back to Universus. 20 heroes, and Taryon Darrington finally joining the fray and coming to Universus. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, Taryon.